Hello, hello, and welcome to another coffee break. This month, we are going to talk about 5 things you should know about if you are retiring in 2026. Not if you want to, if you are planning on retiring in 2026. What do you need to know about your 401k? What do you need to know about moving into that retirement world, replacing your paycheck with the money that you've spent years and years saving? That is a long, long process, and we are here to try to make it a little easier for you. So, if that sounds good to you, stick around. Now, let's do a little housekeeping before we jump into the subject. So, who is Coffee Break for? It is for 401k participants who have been putting money away and now are getting to retirement, basically, and are trying to figure out what to do. This is quick peak strategies for different things for your financial future. They are made to be short and sweet, 15 minutes or less. The whole idea is you're supposed to be able to drink your cup of coffee on a coffee break and then get right back to work afterwards, hopefully getting some knowledge out of it. And today we're just going to cover highlights. So if you have a personal question about your personal situation, that will probably not be addressed in here. And I would say you'd want to talk to a professional about that, or feel free to set up a time with us. You will see the information on how to do that at the end of the video. All right. And when I say us, that is Chris and myself. We are One Vision Retirement. You can see we've been working in this industry for quite a while. I tend to do a lot of the personal planning with professionals, and Chris tends to work with business owners helping set up all these kind of plans. So we have the whole spectrum covered when it comes to this kind of stuff. All right, let's get into it. So, understanding your withdrawal strategy before you retire is very important. Knowing how are you going to replace your paycheck with the 401k that you basically saved up all this time on. And it might not just be your 401k, it might be your 401k, your trust account, your bank account, you might have lots of different accounts that we're talking about. This is primarily going to be talking about the 401k at work. But obviously, you have lots of different buckets you're going to be pulling from. So keep that in mind. You want to know how you're going to be taking it. Are you going to be taking it from the 401k itself, or are you going to roll it over to an IRA? And we're going to discuss that in a second of what that means. Are you going to coordinate it with your Social Security timing? Are you going to have other outside pension income? Are you going to have other assets? And you want to understand the taxes on all of this as well. And we'll get into that as well. The other thing that I always say for people to think about is how often are you going to take from it? Are you going to take a monthly income stream from it? And it's not a stream, by the way. Trades have to be put in, money's got to be pushed out, that kind of thing. But essentially, are you going to take it monthly? Are you going to take it quarterly, annually? I would say most people, when we talk about it, decide to go with the quarterly method just so that they have an idea of how to handle their budget. And it's easier to kind of figure out how much you're spending each month if you do it on a quarterly basis. But it's up to you and how you want to take your money, right? Okay. So taxes, we just talked about this. You need to know the tax rules for the distributions. First and foremost, you need to know what kind of 401k are you pulling it from? Are you pulling it from a traditional 401k where it's going to be considered to be income? The full distribution will be considered to be income. Or are you taking it from a Roth 401k where you've already paid the tax, it has grown tax-free, and now you get to take out your distributions tax-free? So which kind of an account is that? Maybe you have a combination of those two. Also, you want to keep in mind, are you over or under 59 and a half? If you're over 59 and a half, you won't have extra tax and penalties on top of the regular tax if it's a traditional 401k. If you are under 59 and a half and you're retiring earlier, you will have tax, an extra 10% penalty on top of that. So that is something you need to know. People need to tell you that. So, and you might also want to take a look at how much you're going to pull out versus tax brackets, and really just Google tax brackets and you'll figure out where you hit in the tax brackets and that kind of thing. That's a really important thing I always say people should look at. And it's a pretty easy thing to do as well. All right. Number 3 is rolling out or staying in. So there's a couple things to consider. when you are deciding should you keep it in the 401k chassis and take distributions from there, or if you should roll it out to an IRA for yourself. Now, this could be a traditional IRA if it was a traditional 401k, or a Roth 401k if it was a Roth 401k. So both are in this area. When you're considering should I stay at the 401k or roll it over to an IRA, there's some things that you want to consider. Things like expenses inside the account. How much are you paying? Investment choices. Are you limited to the amount of different investments you can do? And how do you feel about that? Access. Is it easy to get a hold of somebody at the 401k company to get this accomplished for you, especially if you're doing a monthly distribution? You definitely want to make sure you look into that. How easy is it? Is there an online portal that makes it really easy, or do you have to call somebody every month? What happens with that? And you want to look at a consolidation of accounts. Make it easier to track, that kind of thing. But I would say the biggest things that people really look at are expenses, access, and investment choices. Those are really important to take a look at those. So remember that eventually you will start taking money out of those accounts. So let's say you retire, let's say you're 65 and you say, I don't really need this income. I have Social Security, I have some other savings I'm going to take from whatever. So I'm just going to leave it at the 401k. That would just totally a fine option. Remember though, at a certain age, you're going to have to take out what's called required minimum distributions. That for some people will be at age 73. For other people, it's going to be age 75. I'll let you know if you reach out. I will tell you what that when it depends on when you were born, and I can tell you where that is for you if you wanted to know that. However, you do need to realize you will have to start taking distributions out of this account at some point or another. So make sure you feel comfortable with where you're taking withdrawals from, either before you have to start taking the required minimum distributions, or before that if you're taking it for income purposes before. Number 4 is review your investment mix for the retirement world. Okay. So when you were building, a lot of people will have just kept in the default investments. Some people actually build out a whole portfolio, but now you're in retirement. And what kind of risk do you really want to have? You really want to assess the risk you're taking, and especially downturn risk. Look at what it looked like in 2022, maybe in 2020. Is that risk the risk you're willing to take on it? Because now this is your money source. This is not just building for a future. This is the future, right? You're taking from it. So you want to make sure you understand your risk. You might want to consider implementing a bucket strategy. There's lots of different ways that you can kind of figure out how you want to handle this. You want to avoid necessarily going too conservative too quickly, right? Because if you retire at 65, there is a chance that you could be in retirement for 20, 30 years. And you want to make sure, A, that your investments are growing to at least keep up with inflation. But B, we do want the account to grow so that we run the risk of running out of money goes much smaller, as long as the account's growing at a reasonable pace. And so to pull the risk way back at 65 might not make the most sense. You might want to consider having a portion in something more conservative and a portion into something more aggressive. I wouldn't say it's super aggressive, but something that's going to be gaining a little bit more rate of return or interest on it. So that's just something to consider. This is the area that you might want to talk to a financial professional about this. And just as an FYI, everybody thinks that we have to invest, you have to invest money with a financial professional to work with us. For many of us, including myself, that's not the case. I'm hired on as a consultant to do project work for people, that kind of stuff as well, to look at this kind of thing, like the investment mix for what you're trying to do, help implement maybe a bucket strategy or something like that. So just know that this might be a good time to hire a professional, even for a short period of time, to walk you through what that would look like. And number 5 is to have a transition plan for your lifestyle and your cash flow. So, what does that mean? Practice living on your retirement income before you actually do it. Now, that doesn't mean start taking out of your 401k now. What I mean is really factor in all of the different expenses that you might have out there and really start watching what you're spending your money on. I would say a good 6 months beforehand. Now, some people roll their eyes and say, no way am I doing that. But it could be helpful. I always say the more you know. Remember that NBC, the more you know thing that they would have on Saturday mornings for kids. The more you know about your money and what you tend to spend your money on and your expenses and all that, the better off you're going to be, and it won't be a surprise. So I would say 6 months is a good time period to look at. You want to factor in healthcare costs, hobbies, unexpected expenses. That does not mean your emergency fund goes away just because you retired. Emergencies happen in retirement too. So you want to make sure that your 401k can support your lifestyle. Don't just go off a number. A lot of people will say, oh, $1 million. Once I get to $1 million in my 401k, that's it, I can retire. Don't go off a number, go off of your numbers, and especially how much you need per month to live. And not just live and survive, but live and thrive, right? That's what we want. So you might want to consider getting a financial plan done in that case if you have no idea what that looks like for you. Again, you can hire a financial professional on a project basis if you don't want them doing the investment portion for you. Okay, so in conclusion, take the time to do some detailed analysis and research before you retire. Don't just retire because I'm tired of working. That's not a good reason. I mean, it's a good reason. It's just not a good way of entering retirement because you could be putting yourself in a bad position in the future. Think about negative scenarios. We always want to, people, and I tend to be a pretty positive person. I'm always trying to see the positive in things, but you do want to look at worst case scenarios in this case, just so you know how you're going to get through them in retirement. You don't want to be figuring things out in the middle of a bad time, middle of a market downturn, that's the thing, is that I will have people call me and want to make investment changes in the middle of the downturn part, and they don't necessarily want to talk about it during the good time. We want to make the changes during the good time, hopefully, and not do them in the middle of a downturn. Sometimes it's necessary to do in the middle of a downturn, but you just want to walk through negative scenarios even in the good times is my point. Remember that every day is a Saturday in retirement, which means Saturday is our most expensive day typically. So what does your everyday look like? Really take a look at your numbers and see what you guys are spending and be realistic and maybe add an extra $1,000 on there after you get that number down. All right. And if you want to see any more of our coffee break videos, they're here on YouTube. You can find all of them there. And with that, if you would like to chat with us, feel free to schedule a call. You can use the QR code there. You take your phone out, you open the camera app, you put it over the QR code. Our link shows up and you can schedule a call with us right then and there. You can email us. You can visit our website, which you can see there, or just follow me on LinkedIn, or I guess link in with me on LinkedIn. I do post a lot of stuff there too as well, and then you can always reach out when you're ready. So with that, I hope you found this informative. If you are planning on retiring in 2026, that is extremely exciting. Congratulations. And let us know if we can help in any way. Until the next video, stay strong out there, be kind to one another, and we will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.